Hey, it's Keaton Bronk here. Right, back to the newsletter. So, into the red, September 2021. We've looked at insolvency stats. Now we're looking at who pays the liquidator. Article by from our Hamilton team, Colin Sanderson. So, also a licensed insolvency practitioner. Who pays the liquidator? The million-dollar question. There is a belief held by some people that the liquidators of a company are paid by the person or company that appoints them, and in some cases, that is what happens, but not always. Right, this is looking to be just riveting. I am going to get a few quick things out of the way first. Hang around till the end. We'll show you how to sign up for these newsletters and where you can contact us. Get yourself a free 30-minute consultation if you need it, or perhaps a friend or family member needs it. They're totally confidential. Welcome to give us a call to have a chat about that, or you can just call us if you want to have a chat. It's lovely to meet new people. So, back to the article. So, how the liquidators get paid and by whom will depend largely on the situation of the company being liquidated, such as solvent versus or insolvent, shareholders or high court appointment. But there are two broad categories: payment from the assets of the company or payment from a third party, such as shareholders of the company to be liquidated or the applicant creditor for high court proceedings to liquidate the company. The other possibility is that the liquidators will not recover any of their fees at all. That's not the ideal situation, but it certainly does happen. How are fees calculated? For the most part, liquidators' fees are calculated on the basis of an hourly rate at a level appropriate for the work being done. Because issues in a liquidation are often not identified until a review is undertaken of the company's books, records, and affairs, it is hard to estimate the probable fees at the commencement. Having said that, it is common for an approximate level of fees to be discussed with the client and an upfront payment or an indemnity for an agreed amount to be obtained. There will also be disbursements to be covered, such as for public notices required, storage of company records, insurance cover for assets, and such. Solvent liquidations. This type of liquidation arises when a company is able to pay all of its creditors but is no longer required for various reasons, such as a restructuring or sale of a business. The company's fees will be covered from the assets or payments from the shareholders of the company, generally with an agreement with the shareholders on the level of fees to be taken. The fees to be taken in a solvent liquidation are generally much easier to predict, as there is no requirement for a detailed review of company records and no related parties seeking payment. Voluntary insolvent liquidations. Voluntary insolvent liquidations come about where the shareholders make the decision to cease trading a company and appoint liquidators because the company is unable to meet its obligations to creditors as they fall due. In some instances, that decision is brought about by the receipt of a statutory demand from a creditor seeking payment. If the insolvent company has assets that are not subject to any security, or a category of asset that is firstly available to preferential creditors, such as accounts receivable, the liquidators will generally get payment of their fees from the realization of those assets. If there are no assets, then the liquidator will seek to obtain payment of an upfront fee or an indemnity from the shareholders before commencing the liquidation. The level of upfront fee or indemnity will depend on the estimated time and costs for completion on the basis of the known issues. That's the key word there, known issues. There's always a barrel of worms that you open on some of those jobs. As mentioned earlier in this article, it is not always apparent at the start of the liquidation what the issues will be, and this can lead to substantial extra time and cost being incurred by the liquidator. In some instances, the liquidator will follow through with those identified issues and recover funds as a result, which are available for their fees, but they may also finish without any ability to recover those costs. Insolvent high court appointments. These liquidations arise when a creditor of a company makes an application to the High Court for a company to be liquidated because it has failed to remedy a statutory demand that was served on it. In this form of liquidation, solicitors acting for the applicant creditor will approach a liquidator prior to the hearing for their consent to being appointed as liquidator of the debtor company. It is not a common practice for the applicant creditor to make any payment to the liquidator for these appointments, and the proposed liquidators are not in the position of being able to approach the shareholders of the debtor company for any upfront fee or indemnity. It is in this type of liquidation that the liquidators are at the greatest risk of receiving no payment for the time and costs incurred. A liquidator, approached by a solicitor to consent to a High Court appointment, does not have to say yes, and if no liquidator gives consent, the official assignee can be appointed. basically the liquidator of last resort. The liquidator's review of the company records, once received, may lead to realisable assets such as accounts receivable or GST refunds, which could be used to recover fees. There may also be potential actions against the directors if there have been any breaches of their directors' duties, but these matters are time-consuming to investigate and very expensive to pursue if court action is required. It is sometimes the case that a potential cause of action will be identified against the director or some other party that could, if successful, result in funds being available not only for liquidators' fees but also for a distribution to creditors, but they cannot be pursued because of lack of funds. This could be funds inside the liquidations and no assets have been realised to pay for it, or creditors are unwilling to provide funding, or a litigation funder is also not available. Conclusion. If you'd like more information on the possible costs of liquidation, please contact one of the team at McDonald Egg. And that's from our friend Colin. He wrote that on the 9th of August 2021. That's a cracker. I like it. It was good. Alright, so let's have a looky. Now, people, who can you contact? This is always an important question. So you have to look at these lovely people. Got Boris, Perry, Ian, Colin, and that handsome gentleman there. We also have Marissa, Yvonne, and David. Our details are on this page. Insolvency practitioners, you go to profile, go to people. Otherwise, you are welcome to give us a call. We've got our 800 number, 800 30 30 34. You can send us a message via our website. Unfortunately, can't come to our physical offices at the moment, but you can certainly post us things at our PO box. And the other option is you can subscribe to our newsletter. You put in your email address and the name you'd like to receive them under, click on subscribe, and away they'll come straight into your desktop for future newsletters. I've been Keaton Pronk. Thank you for listening. There's also the option to give us a call. If you'd like to organise a 30-minute no-charge consultation, we can have a chat through your issues, or if you just want to catch up, we're also happy to have a general chat as well. All right, enjoy.